So what do you think about, like, in my head, jump rope would be a performative sport.
Hell yeah, brother.
But you have like football, where is a goal-oriented sport.
Mm-hmm.
But you can still have very, I guess you could call them artistic players that play within the confines of the goal-oriented sport.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to ask you about, because I don't know enough about those goal-oriented sports. And martial arts is the only thing that's close to a sport that I would say I'm a avid, not even a follower. I just like it.
Yeah. Well, I think from my experience with, I guess we just call them goal-oriented sports, you have really amazing and beautiful plays, or I guess set pieces, depending on your sport, that take a lot of talent and a lot of expression and knowledge of how the game works. And I think that in its own way is, you can somehow describe art that way. You need a lot of talent, or you don't. You need to know a lot about what you have at your fingertips. You need to know what you're good at. When you're talking about like football, you're very confined. You've got 100 yards to work with. You're trying to score touchdowns, but you can make these really just beautiful plays. And it's a lot of the coaching is about writing up these just really crazy plays. Those are the best ones at work. Is just you're throwing off someone here, you're throwing off someone here. They think this person's going here.
Exactly.
And then boom, this person's gone.
And it's understanding how much other people know the rules
Right.
and what's expected of the game at hand. It's not just what you know of the game and what you know of the rules. It's how you can subvert expectations of people who study this as much as you do.
Right. And then, you have your individuals who are just above and beyond. I remember when I was must have been high school, when Odell Beckham Jr. had this amazing Super Bowl catch, and it just shocked the world. He got this one-handed left
I
hand,
remember that one.
right? And
Yep.
you're like, who is able to do that? And you're just like, I think like a lot of people can make art. I could make art. I would argue it's not very good art, but that's, part of it being art. And then you have people who are just really talented at what they do. I would say Odell Beckham Jr. is very talented at what he does. He just comes to him naturally. And I think that's an interesting aspect of it.
And I'm sure he would describe football as an art, because a lot of people wouldn't even attempt to go for that catch.
Right.
No
There's
shot.
probably, like, in the back of his head, the thing of, if I miss this catch, it's a catch no one would have expected me to catch, so it's okay. If I manage to catch this, that's going to be insanely cool looking and also get the point. And so he just reached for it. If he was going fully practical, probably would have tried to dive really hard with two hands, but that would have not probably worked as well. Now, I think there was a certain level of, if I get this, I'm going to be a badass, and he got it.
He was.
Because plenty of people have tried to get the one-handed catch.
And it happens.
It happens.
And people now religiously practice it. Like at practice, they will like Odell.
Because if someone gets it with that reputable of a thing happening, it's like, oh, this is actually a thing we can do.
This is the thing we need to do at this point.
Right. Like when I played football and that happened, I mean, it's like I yell Kobe now when I'm shooting anything into a trash can. I would yell Odell when we'd launch your left hand back or right. Any one-handed catch was an Odell. I think that's really interesting. I don't remember what my original point was.
There's artistry in games that rely on points.
Right.
Like you can have some swagger.
Right.
Which is pretty badass.
It is pretty badass. I was going to go along the lines of if you kind of separate, I guess, sports into two categories, being performative and, a goal-oriented, I think you can have different artistry in both. But I think it's hard to make a performative sport a goal-oriented one. Like jump rope, you have to get points. Figure skating, you have to get points. Gymnastics, I think that's kind of what we think of when we think of sports, is we're trying to get points. We're trying to get a goal. We need someone to win a gold medal.
It's a competition at the end of the day.
It's whichever one, the defining traits between the two at the end of the day comes as to which is the first thing you learn about. Soccer, first thing you learn is you kick a ball in a goal.
All day.
In the performative sports, you don't ever learn about the scoring system until you're almost sort of proficient in it. So it's the performance first. You learn to perform, and then you learn how that works. The other thing, you learn what your goal is, and then you learn how to achieve it. That's how I would categorize the two. I'd say they just still go hand in hand, but
I kind of wonder if we can draw some sort of comparison between the goal orientation of sports with engineering. And that's something that also has especially in music, a lot of connection to the art. But it's something that there's always a goal in mind. You've got something that needs to get done. There's not a point system, but it's talking about like a beautiful play in football makes me think of like a really elegant solution to an engineering problem.
It's what's the quickest way I can do this with the least amount of energy and resources expended so I can do more later on.
And least amount of cables.
It's a matter of finding that sweet balance of fun and practicality. And I think that can be portrayed in sports. I think it's best relayed to the masses in sports, but I think it's best represented with mathematics and equations that we can quantify and verify.
Even mathematics and such. Like if we're going to go back to the one-handed catch thing, there's certain situations in engineering, like even audio engineering, where you're like, I could do all this other stuff, run all these cables, and definitely have a better solution. Or I could say, fuck it, and try running these 3 cables and try to get this drum rig set up like perfectly.
And fix it in post.
And I'm going to pray it's going to work. And it's probably like, if it works, it's going to be phenomenal. If it doesn't work, I'm kind of screwed. But there's like that risk involved in a lot of things. There's a lot of things like you can just put in the hard way of doing it and get it done well. Or you can do the baller way of doing it, risk messing it up, but also risk getting a phenomenal outcome.
How do you think it differs when it comes to an individual sport versus a team sport?
So this was going to be my question for Ethan, because Ethan swims. Did you get back into it?
He swanged.
I have been getting back into it. I've been trying to do it on a weekly basis. I missed this past week, but it's gratifying.
And that's something that is quantifiable. You finish a lap in a certain amount of time, and it's individual. There are teams, but it's like
It's an individual performance that leads up to a team outcome.
doesn't have the same team dynamics as like a multiple people on the field coordinating sport.
You don't have to be locked in with your teammates necessarily.
Right.
But you do during certain events, and that's the beauty of it.
Right, your relays.
Exactly. It can be said for relays. It can be said for jump rope as well.
Oh God, that's
Double Dutch.
We keep coming back to it, unfortunately.
Gee,
but
I'm still trying to finish this so I can go off. I just need some.
I mean, I don't know if the podcast listeners know, but we do have, at one point in time, probably the best jump roper in the world.
confirmed by people outside of folks in this room.
was voted by a popular opinion at one point in 2019, I will say. But so, yeah, anybody who doesn't know, I've been jump roping since I was 8, so probably, how many years is that?
16. Almost.
Whoa.
Well, no.
I was told this was an arts podcast. I wouldn't have to do math.
14, because you haven't done too much since you turned 23. You've done 2 events.
that's
You did
fair.
0 hour and you did some stuff with private contracting.
I casually do performances, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I had 10 world titles, 10 world records at some point, several national ones. That was my main shindig. And reason I stopped doing it was because, well, then I eventually ran away to the circus because I hated competition. Because, I mean, I loved beating people at competitions, but it was mostly, there's no scoring system I felt was respectable to the jumpers. It wasn't that, like, I lost and I felt bad. It was that scoring system just didn't make sense to me because this is not a thing that should be scored. It's like skateboarding. You try to, like, add a numerical value to skateboarding, that just doesn't make sense to me. The same like with gymnastics. I hate that gymnastics is scored the way it is. And so with jump rope, I never once learned any of the scoring systems at any of the competitions. Even like they would change scoring systems. I was a coach for teams. I still wouldn't learn the scoring systems because that's not what mattered. What matters if the people like it. Yes. Actually, okay. One time I learned the scoring system. The only time I learned the scoring system, they changed it the year after. And since then, I had a vendetta. But to me, it was always a case of, it does not matter if you win. It matters, or it does not matter if you win numerically. It matters if you win with the people. If everybody thinks you won, I'd rather take the vote of 100 people thinking I had the best routine rather than the 10 judges who are untrained. So it never hurt my feelings losing at any point because sometimes I'd lose and I'd be like, yeah, it was worth it. I did not.
Folks don't believe it. I've seen his trophy case.
That's why it didn't hurt my feelings. I ran out of room. No, there's sometimes like where, I'm like, I lost. Definitely. There's sometimes where like, no, I definitely won, but I don't need it like valued on a podium.
Yeah.
It's okay. And that's where like the art comes in, and why I will say on the record for any jump ropers listening to this, if jump rope goes to the Olympics, the sport is going to die. It will be ruined.
That's a hot take right there.
I've had this take for years.
It happened with karate.
That's fair.
The sport will die. There will be zero swag involved. It'll be a bunch of tricks that nobody wants to watch. Yeah, you'll be on the Olympics. It's just everybody's going to go take their bathroom break as soon as jump rope comes on because it's going to look bad.
Which is also what happened with karate. It was in one Olympics, and it was so boring that they kicked it off the Olympics.
Yep.
That's what happens when you take something that's performative and put those kinds of rules. In football, if you do something that no one's ever seen before, as long as you get the ball over the thing and your actions lead up to that goal, that's where the art is. In jump rope, you are penalizing art by quantifying it. If you do a trick that nobody's seen before, that nobody knows how to judge, you're not going to get bonus points for having done something that bold.
And you also breed a community of people who are not willing to try new things and tend to obsess over scoring systems because, yes, you can write the perfect routine and it'll get like, it should theoretically get a 10, but when you execute it, it's not going to get like a solid 10 or a perfect 10 or anything because you're going to perform it bad because you were obsessing over the scoring system and not obsessing over your performance. We're performers. That's why I left and went to the circus, is way more gratification from performing and getting to do something you care about instead of relying on arbitrary numbers for it.
And it pays more.
It pays way, way more.
So much more.
Anybody's doing an art form and competing in it, go run away the circus. It's way better.
I take it with a grain of salt.
Run away the circus. It's way better.
All right, where we left off, we were talking about arts and sports and the sportification of some arts, removing the artistry from it, as in jump rope and martial arts. But there's the other side that I've kind of been thinking is the artification of sports that takes away from the sportsmanship. I have exactly one example in my head, and this is basketball free throws.
Oh,
Underhand basketball free throws.
Granny shot,
Yeah. It's statistically, they work much better.
right?
it's much higher accuracy rate.
Bitch made.
But it's not very aesthetic, and so you don't see it.
You get no hose from it. Yeah, well, I mean, I've had issues with that because I've had a tendency to get really pissed off at institutions for their stuff. I learned that back when I was about 8-ish, and I took a free throw in a basketball game. First off, they didn't let me do the first jump to whack the ball. The person they let start it was taller than me, but he missed the jumps because he didn't jump as high. And I literally was jumping for a thing. And yeah, so I was already a little annoyed about that. And then I got to do a free throw and did the granny throw. I got both of them in. And the coach pulled me aside and said, I'd rather you miss than you throw like that.
Wow.
Zach's got all kinds of personal trauma he's unpacking there.
I can name whose fucking dad this was, but yeah,
I kind of want to know.
this fucking his dad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because you want to win the game. That's the whole point of the game, is to win. Well,
Literally the point.
the point
Yeah.
is to beat the other team with the most amount of points. So if you have 95% free throw using a granny shot, it's what? Isn't that a feat of its own? Isn't that amazing, right? It may not look pretty, but
95 from the free throw is kind of crazy.
Right.
But if it's with a granny shot, you're not getting drafted.
no, absolutely not.
No shot.
That comes down to where people say, oh, no, it's all about the stats. The hardcore NBA fans will obsess of, no, it's not about they're stees after anything. No, we're looking at the hard facts. Then as soon as someone does a granny toss, they're like, okay, but no, not like that. Nah, screw that.
They're right.
But it's a more accurate thing to do. It's a better way of shooting, period.
No, it's not.
It is practically a better way of getting the shot. It has a...
With one hand, you have one angle. with two
Ethan,
hands, you
this
have
is not an
multiple angles.
argument. This is
It is.
hard.
Hold on,
It
what are
is
you
now
talking
an
about
argument.
one
What are
hand?
you
It is
ta-
now
yeah.
an argument.
You were
What are you
talking
talking about?
free throws?
With free throws, with shooting a basketball in general.
You're saying no.
Your
no,
dominant hand is
we're
the shooting
only-
hand. Your other hand
We
is the holding hand.
Are only saying free throws.
Yes, I'm saying in basketball.
I'm saying soccer. What the fuck you think? Yeah, we're talking about basketball. What?
Well, yes, you shoot with your dominant hand. The other hand is to line up the shot.
Ethan,
if you're doing
blatantly
underhand,
wrong.
you are shooting with two hands.
Dude, I don't have my phone on me. It is a
Show
fact.
it to me.
It is a literal fact.
I don't
It
believe
is a
it.
literal
All right,
fact.
how
I
about
cannot
this?
believe
Don't
it.
believe
How about this?
But you are
How about
wrong
this?
blatantly.
Whether or not the arguments, I mean, he's right about this.
I am.
But this is more about the principle of the matter. There are things that athletes do that are largely based on aesthetics instead of earning points. And sometimes it's to the detriment of earning points. We can also look at, this is less deciding of an issue because it's more like, yeah, he's just an idiot. But like there's events of people celebrating, getting touchdowns before they got the touchdown.
Right.
Part of your job as an athlete is to be a public persona.
Right.
That's part of what builds the team's brand. It's what teams are looking for because you don't just get funding based on how much you win. It's based on how popular your team is. It's based on how well you maintain your image. And so, yeah, you play football, you're, of course, going to practice getting points. You're also going to practice your touchdown dance. This is part of your personal brand. It's what's going to get you recruited.
Part of what they teach you in basketball. Your non-dominant hand is the aiming hand.
No.
Your dominant hand is the shooting hand. Speaking as someone who has done more than 1 year in basketball. Speaking as someone who grew up in a basketball household.
Ethan's cut off.
Rude. Censorship.
Yes.
Haters, bro. Haters everywhere.
My least favorite part of basketball, if it's a close game, is the last 20 seconds. Because it's foul, free throw, foul. I hate it.
It's the last minute and a half. You are fouling if you have fouls to spare.
I hate it.
It kind of sucks. I'm not going to lie.
If it is true that granny shot is more accurate and you have a higher chance to win in these close games when it's like foul, free throw, would you not take the granny shot and get the points? Because you need the points. It's a close game.
Out of self-respect, no.
Okay. All right. I was just curious.
Out of self-respect, no. I can respect if it's statistically better, and I will acknowledge if I'm wrong on the microphone. But generally speaking, out of self-respect, no, I will not do a granny shot.
Got it.
That's why you're missing them free throws. Yale University, our mathematical analysis shows that if free throws is capable of controlling the release angle speed in an underhand throw, it is better for a basketball free throw.
How?
The reason they don't train the granny throw for a free throw is it's different than the throw you would make in a game. That is why they don't teach it for a free throw. However, that is also why they don't let people do it in a free throw, because the aesthetic of basketball is an overhand toss. It is factually true that the granny shot is the most effective free throw shot. There is copious things to back this up. You can shake your head over there all you want, but look it up one time.
I will shake my head for the sake of the culture, if nothing else. I will accept the fact I'm wrong. I will accept the fact that
You
y'all
are wrong, and
are
I know
nerds,
you're holding
bro.
into the culture.
Y'all are nerds,
That's
bro.
why people are sucking at their free
You know what the
throws.
fuck I'm saying, Kyle.
That's the entire point. Yeah, so the culture lines up. That's where it goes into sports and art. The art does not allow for a granny shot to happen from the free throw line because you will get benched if you do it, even though,
Yes, you will.
even though you're going to get more points for the team doing the granny shot than you would doing the other shot.
They will actively avoid fouling you if you do a granny shot. And you will avoid getting points in the last 2 minutes of the game, and you will get benched.
But if they actually cared purely about points,
They don't. No one does. That's
what
part
we're-
of the problem.
That is what we're
And
talking about. 'cause
That's part of
granny
the problem,
shot's
and
better.
that is the importance of paying attention to the relevance of the culture in the game, regardless of basketball.
Back to the original question. This is an instance of art infringing on the sport. People are sacrificing points for the aesthetics. What does that mean? What does that mean for the relationship between sports and arts, because previously we had
Efficiency doesn't sell if you are basing it off of the value of view, not statistics.
yes, sports are a spectacle. You don't make money by winning points. You make money by winning viewers.
Which is part of why guitar is back into playing faster. I'm not a fan of it myself, and I understand this coming from a musical perspective. You have to find the balance of culture and optimization.
But why isn't there a culture of the granny shot?
Because it looks goofy.
Exactly.
And part of
Yeah.
it, I will say, is practicing the granny shot. It doesn't have relevance to your game shots.
It's not going to help you with a layup.
Yeah.
It's not going to help you with a 3-point shot.
Yeah. Apparently, Shaq turned down learning the granny shot. He said, I would rather have a 0% free throw rate than shoot underhand.
He had an atrocious
He had a
free throw rate.
52.7 average
Shaq?
in his
Horrible.
career. He could have been the best if
But
he
he
had focused on not getting fouled. Unfortunately, he was a big man.
Or if he had, like,
Unfortunately.
tried using the granny shot a few times. and then
that
actually
wouldn't work.
Gee, if me as like a 9-year-old can get shots in doing that from a free throw with no practice, then yeah.
Then get drafted.
Gee, do you know how tall I am?
No.
I'm not going.
He ain't getting drafted. He ain't getting drafted.
I ain't getting drafted.